about how to incorporate the odds into whether you should call or not. And it becomes much more difficult when you start thinking about, well, maybe the jack doesn't even improve me to the best hand. Like if my opponent in that case had a king, um, even if I hit my jack, I still don't have the best hand, which would discourage me even more from calling his bet. Right now, potentially I can go on and on about, well, potentially I could raise there and turn my hand into a bluff and try to get him to fold a better hand. That has some merit, and I don't really want to get into that at this point, but those are some of the things that we'll start thinking about as we get into learning about the game. But for now, I sort of want to still focus on some of the basics and get you guys who are new to it just a little more familiar with some of the terminology and the real fundamentals of the game. So I just want to quickly go through the positions. We talked about the dealer, we talked about small blind, big blind. Then we have, we'll call it under the gun, which is a player that's directly to the left of the big blind. They're first to act pre-flop, which is a disadvantage, because if you have to act first, then you don't know what all your opponents are going to do, if they are going to raise or they have a big hand or if they're going to fold. It puts you at a tremendous disadvantage. So the worst spot at the table is probably, well, under the gun, or potentially the big blind, because you have to commit your big blind. But they're pretty terrible spots at the table. Because you're forced to act last on every betting round. Conversely, the dealer position is the best spot at the table, because you get to act last every betting round. So I get to see how people have responded without having to make my move yet to determine how I want to play. So I see that Zoltaz is raised here, and I have a pretty terrible hand, so I'm just going to go ahead and fold. I haven't invested any money, so there's no need for me to really get involved at this point. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold. But you can see how it gives me an advantage, because I can see that he's coming in raising, so he's representing a pretty strong hand, and I don't really want to mess around with that. Conversely, if I see everyone's folded ahead of me, and now I'm going to have position throughout the hand, I'll go ahead and raise here. Now, Jack 4 is a pretty terrible hand. I don't necessarily advise you to really get involved, but I just want to make an example here of how, because I see that my opponents ahead of me have already folded, and I'm going to have position throughout the hand now, right? I'm on the button, or I think the button in that case had left the table, so I was going to be able to act last on every betting round, even if they called me. So a lot of times, even if I don't have a hand, I can make some bets and put pressure on my opponents to fold their marginal hand, even if I don't hit anything. So that's a really important concept that is discussed endlessly in almost every video, is the importance of position, and pretty much every move you're making is determined by your position at the table. Like I may decide to raise a hand like I don't know, say ace 7 offsuit when I'm on the button or the dealer position. Same thing, just FYI. But I may decide to raise ace 7 on the button if it's folded to me. But if I'm dealt ace 7 under the gun, as I am now, I might just decide to fold, or I would decide to fold it, because it's not a good hand to have when you're going to be out of position throughout the hand. So that's one of the first things I think you should be thinking about when trying to get familiar with poker and start thinking about the game, is how important position is. So when you're under the gun, first act, like I'd advise folding, I'd say probably like 85 to 90% of your hands. Now that's going to leave you with just premium hands that you're actually getting involved in. Premium hands being pocket aces, pocket kings, pocket queens, pocket jacks, ace king, ace queen, maybe like pocket tens maybe. But other than that, everything else I just fold. Just for the sole reason of that being out of position is just such a tremendous disadvantage throughout the hand. Now, conversely, when you're on the button and it's folded to you, meaning you now know that 3 of your opponents have already folded and are completely out of the hand, I'm gonna widen my opening range where I'm entering the pot, my opening hand range quite significantly. Because a lot of times I can raise and they'll just fold because they know that they're out of position. I'm going to fold here. My hand's pretty terrible, and I'm going to be out of position to crash a man throughout the hand, so I'm just going to fold and not worry about the money I've invested in the small blind. But coming back to the position argument, if I'm in position, and when we say in position, meaning you're acting last, whether it be you're in the dealer spot or whoever is left to act before the dealer is already folded. So if you're the one to act last on each street, we'd call that being in position. And if you have someone acting after you on each street, we'd call that being out of position. So coming back to the what hands I would open, if I'm in position, I'm going to go ahead and call here because Jack 10 suited. It's a marginal hand, and I'm going to have position on my opponent Zoltaz here, so I might be able to apply some pressure on him if the flop comes favorably. So and in fact now even though I did manage to hit a strong hand here, which is great. But even if I didn't, because I have position, I can see now that he's checked, which is he's somewhat potentially giving up on the pot. Even if I didn't have a hand, I'd still make this bet here. Say I had like 8-9 offsuit, I'd still make this bet because chances are he's going to be giving up on that pot. So now a hand like Ace King, like I mentioned, this is a hand I'd raise up almost anywhere on the table. It's a pretty good hand, obviously, because it can flop top pair, top kicker if you pair either your ace or your king, right? So and that's pretty significant because if someone else is playing an ace and they have a worse kicker, you're going to be able to draw a significant amount of value from them, right? Because if they see that they have a pair of aces and they don't want to fold, and then it goes to showdown and you've managed to bet on a couple different streets meaning either the flop, turn, or river, you'll be able to extract some value from your opponent. Here I have 10-7 offsuit, so I'm just going to go ahead and fold here. So the next probably important thing to really start thinking about, and I know it's probably a little bit overwhelming if you're really new to the game about some of the things I'm talking about, but it'll start to sink in as you begin to play and as you start watching videos about things such as position. And then I think the next thing to talk about is opening hand ranges and which hands should you get involved in, and which hands should you just be folding pre-flop. If you're just starting out and starting to play either just for play money because you're not comfortable playing for real money at this point, or you're just playing micro stakes, they'll play somewhat the same. You'll see I even folded a hand like Queen 10 there, and that comes back to my discussion about kickers. It's not that great a hand. Like it's probably deceiving to a lot of beginner players, a hand like Queen 10. Because while it has two marginally high cards, but at the same time, even if you flop a queen or a 10, you're not that happy about your hand, and it's not a hand like you're super happy to get a lot of money in the pot with. So there's nothing wrong with just folding that, waiting for a better hand where you have like ace queen or like ace jack, that type of hand, if you're going to decide to call or raise. Now, if it was folded to me on the button there with queen 10, I'd come in raising to try to steal the blind money because they likely don't have that strong a hand. But in that spot, since someone already is representing a fairly strong hand, I'm not going to mess around there. So coming back to opening hand ranges, and that's the second of three sort of concepts I want to, and I'm going to fold a hand like ace 9 here, and this might seem counterintuitive for people that have played a little bit. They might say, well, you have an ace, how could you fold that? But it's just not a great hand to be playing when I'm out of position like this. And like I said, out of position, meaning there's two guys left to act behind me who, if they call, will have position on me throughout the hand. So I think it's better just to fold there and not really worry too much and wait for a better hand. Like there's nothing wrong with just being patient, waiting for a better hand. Like pocket 10s here, I think that's a raise because it's a pretty good hand. I already have a pair now, and I'll proceed with caution if I get called. But chances are, like, it's not that easy to make a pair better than 10s, so I do like that hand. So anyway, coming back to opening hand ranges, it varies significantly based on your position at the table what hands I would get involved in. And you'll see now, again, I'm out of position because I'm going to have to act last on every post flop street. So I'm just going to fold a hand like ace five suited. Yeah, it's a pretty hand. Yeah, it can make flushes and can make a straight, and it can flop a top pair, right? Pair aces, but it also gets you in a lot of trouble if you say you flop a pair of aces. And now my kicker is only a 5, so if my opponent also has an ace, I'm kind of concerned whether I might be out kicked or not. So there's nothing wrong with just folding if you're not comfortable with it, and just waiting for a better hand. Especially at the micro stakes, the majority of the money that you're going to make is just capitalizing on other people's mistakes, where they're overplaying hands, where they're not aware of how their kicker's doing, where they think that any sort of pair is worth calling to showdown, where they just can't fold any sort of pair or made hand, right? That's where you're really going to make your money at the micro stakes, when you're just getting into the game. So I would advise just playing tight, and when I say tight, I mean just folding a large majority of your hands, probably around like 85% of your hands pre-flop, just waiting for strong hands, and then getting involved where you have a high probability of hitting good flops if the pot goes to see a flop or turn a river. You want to put yourself in a good position to hit the flop. So that's why I want to play hands like ace king, ace queen that have when they have potential to hit top pair. So if my opponent's playing a hand like 10 jack, and he hits his pair of jacks and I hit my pair of aces, then I'm gonna be able to extract a lot of money out of him when he can't fold his pair. So here, like I said, just being patient, I've managed to hit my pair of pocket queens here, which is a good hand. So I'm going to raise it up and hope to get some action. So I got a call from a guy in the small blind. This is interesting now. I get a re-raise from a guy, Master Putter, who's raised pretty significantly. So I'm going to go ahead and re-raise it up, because my pocket queens are a pretty good hand. To $1.80, and if he pushes all in, I'll definitely call, because I'm quite happy to get all in. Now, potentially he's going to have pocket kings or pocket aces and have me beat, but I'm not too concerned about the two hands in the entire deck that are going to be better than me. I'm thinking about, well, what hands is he going to get all in with here? And so here I'm a slight favorite against his ace king, but at the same time he could, and he managed to hit, but that's all right. He could have like pocket jacks or pocket tens, which are decent hands, but I have them crushed with pocket queens. So I'm not too concerned about the hand he does end up showing with, because I'm thinking about, well, what are the various hands he would play in that manner? So yeah, one would be pocket aces, another one would be pocket kings, pocket queens. Ace king, as we saw, was the hand that he had, as well as pocket jacks, and perhaps pocket tens, and perhaps any pocket pair. I don't have too good a read on this guy at this point, but if he's a maniac, he might just think any pocket pair is good, or he might think any like an ace jack is good. Like it's ace jack is a decent hand, but it's not great to get all in pre-flop with. So when I determine what's the correct play there with my pocket queens, I'm thinking about, well, what hands would he, given the information I have, which is I raised, we got a caller, and then he re-raised. Oops. What hands would he do that with? And well, the hands that, like, based on the info, would be pocket aces, pocket kings, pocket queens, pocket jacks, ace king, and perhaps more worse hands. So when I think about, well, how do my pocket queens stack up against that? I'm definitely a favorite, and I'm super happy to get all the money in. Now, as it turned out in that case, and I'm going to go ahead and raise 8-4 suited here. Now that it's folded to me on the button. This is an example of just leveraging my positional advantage in this hand and hoping to steal the blinds. And even if not, I'll just throw it a bet probably on the flop and be able to take a lot of pots down there. So coming back to that pocket queens, I'm happy to get all the money in there. Now, in that actual hand. I'm going to go ahead and fold king 9 there. It's a little marginal. If I had like a hand like king jack in the cutoff, and the cutoff is the position known as 1 to the right of the dealer, so it's pretty good position, because if the dealer folds, then you have position throughout the hand. Anyway, when analyzing whether my odds in that hand where I had pocket queens versus ace king, I can tell you just from experience of those type of situations, my hand was about a 56% favorite versus ace king offsuit there. so 50